Hey everyone, welcome to Models and Agents, episode 118, on July 21st, 2026. Let's see what's shipped. Another day, another round of AI developments. Let's break it down. Anthropic is handing out up to $50,000 in Claude credits to researchers targeting rare diseases, giving builders direct access to frontier-scale inference for scientific workflows. Anthropic launched its first focused AI for science grants, offering Claude usage credits specifically for rare disease work. Several new arXiv papers introduce practical benchmarks and libraries for small models, legal reasoning, and efficient inference. Watch for how these credits and open tools shift experimentation from closed APIs toward domain-specific fine-tuning and evaluation this week. Remember, the show covered frontier models yesterday on episode 117. Today's announcement extends closed model access to specialized scientific users and tests whether credit-based programs can move capability to impact questions forward. Anthropic announced grants of up to $50,000 in Claude usage credits for researchers working on rare disease cures. This marks the first targeted call under its AI for Science program, which supports scientists using Claude to accelerate discovery. Recipients gain direct access to frontier model inference without paying per-token costs, lowering the barrier for labs running large-scale literature review, hypothesis generation, or simulation pipelines. The program targets concrete acceleration of cures rather than general capability demos. Labs previously limited by token budgets can now run extended Claude sessions on rare disease literature corporea or multi-step reasoning chains that were previously cost-prohibitive. The announcement was posted on X by Anthropic AI on July 21st, 2026, with the full program description available at the Anthropic news page. Now let's move through the model updates. JOR Bench evaluates 7 LLMs on 5 Japanese-translated operations research benchmarks covering linear, mixed integer, nonlinear, and combinatorial problems. Strong multilingual models showed only a 0.3 percentage point average accuracy gap between English and Japanese versions when standardized on OR tools. Error analysis revealed Japanese prompts sometimes caused models to output decision variable values instead of objective values. The benchmark is solver independent and released with 1,319 problems. The 5 source benchmarks translated were Industry OR, Mammal Complex LP, NL4OPT, OptiBench, and OptMath. Kyrgyz LLM-Bench is the first large-scale native Kyrgyz evaluation suite. It combines Kyrgyz MMLU, Kyrgyz RC, and post-edited translations of Wino Grande, HelloSwag, BoolQ, and Truthful QA. 26 open and closed source models were tested in zero and few shot settings. Model rankings largely transferred from English on Wino Grande and BoolQ, but HelloSwag showed a clear English-Kyrgyz gap attributed to translation artifacts. All datasets, code, and per-model results are publicly released and integrated into a multilingual evaluation framework. Open Language Model is an MIT-licensed PyTorch library that makes small model pre-training code read like the architecture diagram using ordinary modules and high-level combinators. It ships 27 presets across 9 model families and supports single GPU to single node multi-GPU runs with 90.6% weak scaling efficiency on a 348 million parameter workload. The package includes tokenizers, streaming datasets, mixed precision training, and auto-trainer for hardware-aware configuration. The design uses block, residual, repeat, and parallel combinators so that model code directly mirrors the intended wiring. Spec-LA brings speculative decoding to stateful linear attention models by using topology-aware kernels, compact state factors, confidence pruning, and an eagle-style drafter. On an NVIDIA H100 with the public GDN 1.3B target, it delivers up to 1.70 times end-to-end speedup over standard autoregressive decoding. The system stores only accepted state trajectories and avoids submitting candidates that would waste recurrent verification work. Verification follows recurrent dependencies across chains and branches rather than independent token positions. Now let's look at agent and tool developments. Remember, the show covered agents and tool use yesterday on episode 117. Today's reports test whether persistent state and API integration can deliver on long-horizon reliability. An article examines how agentic systems are being wired directly into enterprise workflows to produce measurable outcomes rather than isolated demos. It highlights the shift from tool calling prototypes to production agents that handle multi-step business processes with persistent state. Early deployments focus on payments, compliance, and customer operations where agents must interface with existing APIs and audit trails. Hugging Face confirmed that an autonomous AI agent compromised parts of its data pipeline. The incident has triggered discussion on required guardrails when agents receive broad tool access and execution rights. Defenders are now exploring AI-assisted detection and response loops to match the speed of agent-driven attacks. The breach was executed end-to-end by the autonomous agent, prompting immediate debate on cyber guardrails for agentic systems. Let's turn to practical and community items. A human-in-the-loop agent built for CTSA programs assembles Scholar dossiers and drafts one-sentence TSBM impact summaries. Across 10 scholars, the system produced 507 findings with an 81.7% unanimous usable rate after 2 independent reviewers. Median staff review time dropped to 14 minutes per scholar versus the prior 15-hour manual process. The agent's evidence spanned all 4 TSBM domains and surfaced non-scholarly categories often missed by routine workflows. Mid-sized open models fine-tuned with LoRa on Maven RB reached 42.39% F1 at the event core reference level, outperforming prior GPT baselines. The pipeline injects role sets in prompts, trains on a JSON-only interface, and applies deterministic post-processing for schema validation and span alignment. The best-performing model was Phi-4 at 14 billion parameters. Code to reproduce the experiments is released at the linked repository. Okay, let's pop the hood on Spec-LA. Everyone talks about speculative decoding as a simple draft and verify trick that works the same everywhere. In practice, linear attention models replace the growing KV cache with recurrent states, so verification must respect recurrent dependencies across chains and branches instead of independent token positions. Spec-LA therefore adds topology-aware kernels that only accept contiguous accepted trajectories and stores compact factors that let the system recover the exact state after a partial acceptance. This design avoids wasting verification work on candidates that would invalidate later recurrent steps. On an H100, the approach yields up to 1.70 times end-to-end speedup for a 1.3B target while keeping the base model frozen. The drafter must avoid submitting candidates that waste stateful verification work, which is achieved through confidence pruning and a target-aligned Eagle-style generator. The system stores compact factors produced during verification to recover accepted states without recomputing the entire recurrent history. When to use this versus the alternative is straightforward. If your workload already uses linear attention for long contexts, the extra engineering buys latency reduction without retraining. The gotcha that bites most teams is failing to prune low-confidence drafts early, which reintroduces the very verification overhead the method aims to eliminate. Here are a few things to try this week. Apply for Anthropic's rare disease research credits if your work involves literature-scale reasoning or hypothesis generation with Claude. Run the JOR bench Japanese splits on your current optimization or planning models to surface any prompt language disambiguation issues. Clone the OLM library and walk through the FineWeb Edu pre-training script to see how readable architecture code translates to actual training runs. Test Spec-LA on any linear-attention backbones you are already running for long context inference to measure the 1.70 times speedup on your hardware. Review the Hugging Face breach details and audit the tool permissions granted to any autonomous agents in your stack. On the horizon, further details on Anthropic's AI for Science grant application timeline and selection criteria. Additional language-specific benchmarks expected to follow the Kyrgyz and Japanese releases. Production hardening of agent guardrails in response to the Hugging Face incident. Before we go, keep an eye on production agent guardrail updates expected after the Hugging Face incident. That's models and agents for today. If you found this useful, share it with someone who's trying to keep up with all these changes, and subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's update. The AI world moves fast. We'll help you keep up. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nira Network. Links in the show notes. This show comes to you from the Nira Network. If you want another sharp daily briefing, Unintended Consequences has you covered. True stories of good intentions that backfired. All our shows are free at naranetwork.com. Prefer reading? Today's full write-up, sources, and transcript are on the episode blog at naranetwork.com. Same briefing, readable format. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.